Welcome to Beauties, you beauty. Let's go. All right, so earlier on the show today, we got to interview a girl who's going to leave high school and head to university, and now we get to talk to a seasoned veteran. Lilla, welcome to the show. I want to give you a little pump your tires here just a little bit to get you fired up. Lilla has had an amazing season this year with the University of Regina Cougars. She's a hockey player. She posted 19 points this year, and we just saw some news that you were selected as a first-team All-Star from the booming metropolis, which I have driven through once or twice in my life, of Gray, Saskatchewan. Lilla, welcome to the show.
Wow, thanks for having me. Yep.
You gotta love the intro. Always makes you feel real good, doesn't it? Super awkward.
Yeah, I'm blushing over here.
I know I should have had you on FaceTime. No, I appreciate you coming on. I'm sure, not necessarily the way that you wanted your season to end, but it had to be nice getting back on the ice after a hiatus because of good old COVID, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that year kind of really let a lot of people almost transform, their play too. And by the time the season started, everyone was just ready to go. And I think we had to be happy with the outcome, whatever it was, because it's more than we got the year before. So
absolutely,
it's just really nice to be back.
Yeah, I think that's a great perspective. And that's one thing, maybe that a season like COVID did do for us is put it into perspective how privileged we are to get to play a game we love, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Yeah. So, you were obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, Gray is how far? Well, not far southeast of Regina.
Yeah, it's about like 20 to 25 minutes southeast of Regina. It's like 120 people. Pretty small.
Yeah, it makes my hometown of Souris, Manitoba, which is like maybe 1,500 people, seem like a city in comparison to where you grew up. But you're obviously... Go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just saying, it is definitely a small town. That is for sure. But
yeah, for sure. So had an awesome career with the Regina Rebels. My spouse coaches the Winnipeg Avros. So I've got to watch a lot of Rebels games over the years. Unfortunately for the Avros, sometimes those don't go their way. That's a really strong program that they have there. But you put up almost a point per game in your time with the Rebels. Obviously being close to Regina, was U of R always the top of your list to pursue a post-secondary career, or what went into making that decision for you?
At the time, I wasn't really like, I want to stay in Regina. I want to go to a specific place. There wasn't really like a sole location I wanted to end up. I think I just wanted to go where, I was wanted and like where I felt the environment was already a positive one. I got to meet a couple of the players, and since I was already nearby, like I could work out with a few of them, and there's just a lot of really nice a lot of older players that were really inviting initially. And then at the time, it kind of just seemed like the right decision. I also think my mom was pretty happy that I stayed home because I have two older sisters that also played in the CIS. So I had one sister who played it for UBC and one sister who played at Nipissing for 2 years. So they're in opposite conferences, the Ontario Conference and then CIS West. Yeah. And my sister was like, you can't play on the same team as me. We're not doing that again because we played on the Rebels together. And I was like, okay, fair. So I wanted to do my own thing, and I wanted it kind of to go to a place that was mine, and, I could make what I wanted for myself. And it worked out nice. It's nice being home, close to home. My mom can tell me when she's going to Costco, so I can get some groceries from her. Yeah. So that's a huge perk. And in the end, it ended up being really amazing because it allowed my family to see a lot of games and be really involved. Where when my sisters played in UBC and in Ontario, it was a lot harder for my parents to be able to go out and watch. So I think this is really important for, my family just to be able to come out and support. And, they come to pretty much every game, no matter where it was. So
no doubt. So are you the youngest? Are you the oldest, middle? Where did you get to play against your sisters at all?
Yeah, I'm the youngest. Two older sisters. My middle sister I played with on the Rebels, so her last year was my first year. Okay. And then her name's Joelle, and my oldest sister Jenna, I played against her in university. So my first year of university was her last year at UBC. So and we played them 4 times, right? So those were always my favorite games in first year because I was going up against my big sister, and I knew a lot of the players on our team because they were kind of like, I used to fangirl over UBC for a while because my sister was on that team, so it was cool getting to play against all her friends. But obviously I was also wanting to win and maybe knock my sister down a few times. But
how are the outcomes against your sister?
UBC was always like a really strong team as they are now. They're pretty incredible. But I don't think my first year, I don't know. I can't even remember the scores. I remember they're always tight games because the Cougars, we always like have really intense games against UBC. I feel like they might have won more on us than we did.
But as long as you got your knock in, I know, right?
Yeah.
As long as you got.
I mean, I'm not even. I was just like thinking about how like intensive games were, and like clearly it was like a battle. So I can't remember the score, but I can just remember like it was just like a fun game going into it. You'd always know.
That's amazing. I wish I could play my sister. She's I'm the older of 2 girls, and so she didn't pursue any post-secondary afterwards. But we grew up kind of same story as you. She's 2.5 years younger than me, so we got to play together more often than we got to play against each other. That's for sure. But that's awesome. And what a great experience for your parents too.
Yeah, it definitely was. Like I also have family who live in Seattle, Washington, so they'd come up for our games in UBC. And my mom actually, she made these jerseys half green, half blue, and she sewed them together.
Yeah.
And she could get her whole family to wear them because it's all like they could decide who to cheer for. But
that's awesome.
So they're cheering for both teams essentially. But it was pretty enjoyable. You kind of forget now how cool that first year was, getting to experience that.
For sure. That's awesome. I think, I do want to touch on, I want to come back to this year because I think for you, obviously you would have been a leader in that locker room and just the performance that you had this year, putting up incredible numbers, but you guys had an enormous class of rookies come in this year, 14 players. Some of them that I got to watch for the last few years, and Trinity Grove played for the Avros for my wife, and Shay Scrabba's from my hometown, so there's some local connections for me there. What was that like for you? Having to obviously be in a leadership role in that dressing room with a whack of young players.
It was just really interesting because half of those players are like technically second years, but they're still rookies, right? Because we didn't have the season before. So we did practice for 2 months, like the year that COVID got canceled. So I did get to know quite a few of the players, but then everything got shut down. We were doing like Zoom meetings, and like you can't really connect with players and people as much over Zoom. Obviously, in person is ideal. So, and I also was technically done hockey. I came out of retirement to play this year, so I actually technically quit and then came back. So I wasn't even in the loop all summer. A lot of people didn't know who I was going into this year, and I kind of just showed up one day and started meeting everyone. And yeah, you're right. There's a lot of new faces. And I was like, okay, I don't know anyone's names because I haven't really been in the loop with anything. I just kind of showed up. But it was like pretty incredible because there's players that I did know last year that I became really close with this year. And then when you think about how many rookies we had this year and how important they were like with us throughout the game, like they had a pretty, I think, I don't want to say a heavy load, but they obviously like performed really incredibly for like being first years because the level of play is it increases a lot from midget to university. Like obviously, you'd know that. And then we had our first year goalie who's starting, Arden, and she was incredible. Like you said, Trinity was incredible. We had like a lot of those players on the power play too, in our rookie class. So it's honestly really exciting. I kind of wish this was in my 6th year and I wasn't done because like you can just see there's a really good young core right now and a lot of really strong players that you're hoping it's just going to go up for them. And the next few years, they can just have a really strong young team. So it's mostly just pretty exciting, and I hope I can watch it happen.
No doubt. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that. What's the plan now? You're going to graduate with what from university?
So I graduated last year, so the winter 2021 semester with a business degree with a major in marketing.
Okay, cool.
And then this year I came back and I was finishing a public relations certificate. So I had like 3 classes left I need to complete. So I took 2 of those courses the fall semester and 1 this semester. So that's what I'm doing, finishing that. And then I'm really trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I have been considering if I want to play overseas, and there's a kind of a process that goes into that. So like a lot of networking, video, reaching out to people who's going to respond to you, right? Because they have their own seasons going on. There's also a huge time zone difference. But that is something I am really interested in, whether it's like super competitive league or if it's just an experience. I think anyone would agree if they could travel abroad for a year and take in a new experience, then they should. And if I have the opportunity to do that, I would really like to do that.
Absolutely. I'm going to say that as someone who came out of university and went straight into the workforce. I came home and I think I was unemployed for a grand total of 3 weeks and then started into professional life and still played casually with my friends, but I would encourage you, and I'm glad you're taking the time to think it through, because I think it's an opportunity, and now more than ever, right? I mean, we're going back now 12 years for me when I graduated from university. Hockey has evolved so much in that time, and if you have an opportunity, life will always be here. Adult world will always be here. Jobs will always find you. If you have an opportunity, I'm glad you're taking the time to consider them all, because I think it's a sport that has given all of us so much, and to be able to take that on and continue to do it while you just, get to live your life and grow up. Absolutely.
No, yeah, I totally agree. And I'm not rushing into the workforce by any means. I'm like, no, I do not want to do this right away.
Well, you got a good degree. You'll find a job.
Life is too short to work all the time, though. So
for sure.
Yeah, and either that or I'll hope to travel a bit this summer too. Before life gets too serious. So.
Absolutely. Good for you.
I'm hoping for it.
Yeah, I do want to ask you also just about this season. I know I've briefly swept it over, right? I've said, 19 points. You were selected, as a first team All-Star, which congratulations on that, by the way. But
thank you.
Just want to ask you, obviously, so we've heard you thought you were going to call it quits and you came back. You had a huge rookie class of kind of a mixed bag of first and second years, but first year on the ice kind of thing. What do you attribute? Was it just time? Was it experience? What do you attribute to having such a successful year this year as you close out your U Sports career?
I think for me, it was just kind of like a wake up call. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it like 100%. So I don't know about you, but I gained a lot of weight over COVID because I was sitting at home doing nothing all day.
Yep.
And hockey was over. So I was like, if I'm going to do this and come back, I want to be better than I've ever been before. So I started changing my diet completely. I trained with my personal trainer, Stefan. I worked out with him since I was in 11th grade, kind of on and off. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to have my best year yet. I want to how do we do that? So we started in March, working out 3 to 4 times a week, and just pretty hardcore workouts, everything, cardio, lifting, everything. Mm-hmm. And then I just started kind of losing weight. Not that that's a huge part of it, but then my kind of confidence started building as well, because I was just feeling mentally stronger. Mm-hmm. I'm someone who my mental health was always kind of something that was hard to navigate through the earlier years. And I think that was attributes a lot to why I wasn't able to perform as well, because I was kind of in a mental space that wasn't completely confident and wasn't completely inviting. And this year I was like, I'm going to create a mental space for myself that is going to help me, flourish, as weird a word as that is, rather than knock myself down, because I think I was someone who did a lot of negative self-talk, and it was harmful for me. So I'm like, this year's going to be different. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to be as positive as I can, and I'm just going to be proud of myself for whatever steps I take, or for whatever I get in return for the work I'm putting in. I'm just going to be proud of it. Absolutely. And I ended up having a lot of people in my corner that were super supportive, and it almost got to the point where I'm like, they're more confident in me than I was yet. But it was really incredible, because over time it kind of just like reflected onto me, and I was like, okay, I'm confident now. And it didn't always start that way, but then we went into the season, and the more games I got in, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I need to shoot more. Like, yeah. I actually can score quite a bit. And then it just kind of kept like spiraling from there. And I was just building like more and more confident as we go. And I'd never been that confident before. Yeah. And it was like a bit stressful at times because we weren't really in a playoff spot, but I just kind of had this like faith that like we are going to make playoffs. We're going to do this. Just like stick to the course. Like mentally you're strong enough to deal with this. You just got to like keep pushing for it. And that was just kind of like, the mindset was just to be in a better mental space this year than any year before.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, it's an incredible way and perspective that you've gained for a young adult to, I think, recognize that. And I think that's part of, you know, again, back to the growth that you experienced through your time at U of R. And an incredible thing for people to hear that I think, you know, and we're seeing it more and more, and Addie and I have talked a lot about it, and I think it's only positive. Just the ability to have a conversation. Let's be honest, we're basically strangers. To have a candid conversation with a stranger over the phone on a podcast that's going to live live on the internet, that's, you know, people around you can see. I'm super proud of you for sharing that, because I think that so many people need to hear it. And I think you've done a ton of work for yourself that other people are also going to see, and hopefully give them some confidence too to see you grow. So thanks for sharing that. That was great.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, what else do you got in your mind, Lilla? That's all I had on my list for you. I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you, your willingness to be so open and candid. Is there any last words that you want to share with anyone listening? A little plug of U of R or anything like that before I let you go?
I feel like I should be giving a shout out, but I guess I'll just give a shout out to my Cougs and our future Cougs. And I think just women athletes in general. I think it's really important. Obviously, this is what this podcast is about. So absolutely. Just continuing to strengthen the women's game and promote it, because y'all are incredible.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think that's a great way for us to end this. I can't wait for you to come back on the show someday, Lilla, soon. And whether that's as just a person in life or if you pursue hockey further, stay in touch with Addie and I, and we'd love to get you back on the show.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks for joining me.
Have a good one.
Okay. Bye-bye.